Hi, my name is Sarah,
And my name is Riyaa.
and we are part of Girls Will Code.
This is episode 2 of our series called Women in STEM.
So, because we're focusing on the general female experience in STEM, I think it's really important that we take a look at what inequalities there are in STEM, not just amongst women and men, but also in the profession in general. So if you take a look at this infographic here on the right, you'll see that 25% of STEM jobs are filled by women, even though women make up nearly 50% of the workforce. And that's represented here in the graph that shows the percentage of PhD degrees earned by women. You'll see that in fields of computer science, engineering, mathematics, and even physical sciences, women make up a disproportionately small amount of those PhD graduates. So it only makes sense that in the future they will make up less of the workforce. And it's also interesting to see on the infographic to the right again, 33% is how much more women with STEM jobs earn than women without STEM jobs. So there is clearly a difference in pay and salary, even amongst women, based on the field they enter. And you see, so for like many generations, there has been an issue with equal pay in all fields of work. But if you look at the bottom left graph, you'll see that in STEM fields, the wage gap between genders is actually a lot lower than it is in a lot of other fields. And that includes directorial positions or even actresses. Plenty of other fields have much higher levels of discrepancy compared to STEM. And if you look at the final two squares of the infographic, you'll see 80% of the fastest growing industries and occupations require a mastery of science and math, and 75% of non-STEM jobs will require basic STEM skills. So obviously technology is a very important part of today's workforce, and so that's why it's even more important that we encourage girls and women to get involved in such an integral part of today's modern society.
So I'm going to be talking about comparison in STEM. So there's a lot of comparison that happens in the STEM field. Studies have repeatedly showed that the math and sciences are perceived by male domains and the scientists as predominantly male. However, the impact of the gender image in school science subjects on young people's career choice has yet not been analyzed. While the education levels of women have increased dramatically relative to the men in recent decades, women are still greatly underrepresented in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which is STEM, college programs, and occupations. So as you can see in the graph, and for men, there are three categories. There's people who experience gender discrimination at work, people who have made it harder to succeed because of their gender, and their sexual harassment in their workplace. So it's pretty obvious that women experience these more. So first, they're not accepted in such fields, and even though they're accepted or they're given an opportunity to work in that field, they still experience gender discrimination and harassment and all that. So in that case, women do not necessarily want to be a part of the STEM field because they're scared that they won't be accepted because of their gender. And the bottom part of the graph, you can see that there's more percentage based on your postgraduate degree computer jobs and mostly male people in work. And as you can see that it's obviously very obvious that the male workplace is more than the computer jobs in postgraduate degree. Yeah, it's obvious that women are being harassed and there's a lot of gender discrimination in workplace. Even though women are smart and they do have degrees, they're not still accepted because of their gender. And
So one example of discrepancies in treatment in STEM is Marilyn Vos Savant's experience with the Monty Hall problem. So this is a very famous problem. I will try my best to explain it briefly. So the scenario is you are on a show and there are 3 doors, and behind 2 of the doors are goats, and behind one of the doors is a brand new car. So the host allows you to pick one door of your choice. So you pick a door and you don't know what's behind it. And then the host opens one of the doors with a goat behind it to reveal a goat behind it. So you know that you either have a goat or a car behind your door. And now the question is, should you switch doors to the door you haven't picked and that hasn't been opened, or should you stick with the first door that you chose? Sorry. And so a lot of people thought that it was 50%, but Marilyn Vos proved in a article from Parade magazine that this was actually not the case. And just to give some background on Marilyn Vos, she was quite gifted. She had the highest IQ, and she was like generally credited as being the smartest woman in the world. And I'm also going to give some more background information on the Monty Hall problem. So this wasn't the first time it had been solved. I believe it was first introduced in 1975. And between the time when it first was published in a magazine and when Marilyn Vos solved it in her column, that was 15 years later. So in that 15 years, at least three other men, had proven that it was not 50-50. And that went over fine with the public. It received generally little attention. But when Marilyn Vos explained the problem, she received a ton of backlash. She received over like 10,000 letters from people telling her that she was like stupid, that she doesn't know what she's talking about. And you'll see I've included a lot of quotes, and a lot of it was very sexist. If you'll look at the last one, Mr. Edwards says maybe women look at math problems differently than men. And I also saw another quote where a man sort of like snidely commented, maybe women have a different type of logic. That was all incredibly rude. And Marilyn Vos eventually released 3 more columns trying to explain why she was right. And I won't explain it right now, but if you just look at the table in the bottom left, you'll see like every single scenario if you do switch and if you don't. And the odds of winning the car, if you do switch, are 2 out of 3, and if you don't, only 1 out of 3. So, but it was quite unbelievable to see how much work she had to go through to try to prove herself, largely because she was a woman.
So this mindset that translates in other areas of work where women are less wanted or thought to be suitable. So women experience a lot of gender inequality and discrimination because they're women, and men think that they're not capable of doing something. This doesn't just occur in the STEM field, but it also occurs in other fields, like, for example, being a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. As you can see in the bottom graph, you can see that there's a graph that shows sexual assault with force and robbery that women experience in doing other jobs apart from STEM. And it's pretty obvious that women do experience a lot, especially in Latin America, because those countries are yet not very educated about this entire issue. And in the top, you can see that there's a graph showing the number of men and women in STEM fields. So obviously, we can see that there are more men in the STEM field than women. And there's a lot of segregation and stereotypical images that people have in mind about women in the STEM field. However, stereotypical expectations not only reflect existing differences, but also impact the way men and women define themselves and are treated by others. Considering the cognitive and motivational functions of gender stereotypes helps us understand their impact on implicit beliefs and communications about men and women. Knowledge of the literature on this subject can benefit the fair judgment of individuals in situations where gender stereotypes are likely to play a role.
So the next subject that I'm going to talk about is differences in career goals and also the importance of fostering girls' interests in STEM at a young age. So if you'll look at the top infographic, you'll see that actually at a young age, more girls are interested in STEM-related careers than boys. So 42% of girls were interested in a STEM-related career, while only 32% of boys were. And close to 70% of boys were interested in a non-STEM career. And a high percentage of that was interest in becoming a professional athlete. But this just goes to show that yeah, a very high percentage of girls are actually interested in STEM at a young age. So now the question becomes, what happens in the time when they are young and interested in the topic, as opposed to when we see that there are so few female graduates in some STEM fields compared to men. So this second graph, it was published by Microsoft, and it shows the mean age when a girl first became interested in STEM. And you'll see that, yeah, most girls become interested by the time they're 11. So they're still in middle school, and they are still very susceptible to some influences in school or in family and friends. And Microsoft's research also revealed that having a positive role model was one of the most effective ways to prevent girls from losing interest in STEM. That's why it's really important to have initiatives like Girls Will Code or other ones where young girls are able to see that there are people like them who are involved in STEM, who have the same interests, and they have a mentor of sorts. And another important part was a personal belief that they would be treated as equally as men if they were working in STEM. So 23% of girls in the UK, this is a few years ago, I believe in 2015, 23% of girls felt that STEM subjects were geared towards boys, and that's a fourth, and that's really a huge percentage if you think about it. So we should be doing whatever we can to sort of mitigate that difference and help encourage girls. So again, it's such an important thing to have female role models, whether it be educators, professors, or people who just work in STEM, to speak out about their experience so young girls are aware that it's possible to have a future in STEM, and that if they're passionate about it, they should pursue it.
So this is a graph showing the persistent gender roles. So even today in places like Silicon Valley, which is considered to be the most fast-forward thinking industry in the world, women continue to be paid less than their male counterparts. In addition to being underpaid, women are still being underrepresented. So if there's a woman who makes a discovery or tries to solve a problem, they do not accept their theories because they think that women will not be able to find the solution or prove a theory because they think that women are just not capable of doing stuff like that. They usually go with men's theories, even if it's wrong, or if it's a women's theory, they try and give the credits to a male, so that people believe the theory more. Not just that, but even today, women in like small countries like India, Pakistan, and stuff, women are mostly known for doing the housework, taking care of children, and doing all the labor work and taking care of the farm, the family, giving birth to children. Even if a child wants to study, they're not given an opportunity to study because they think that a woman who wants to study is a burden to the family, because they think that the male is always the successful one and the male is the only one who can do something good for the family. Those women who try to do something in the field of STEM, disobeying their parents, are usually ill-treated or sexually harassed. So in the graph, you can see that the top part is a graph of the gender gap in career length. So these are different careers like computer science and physics and engineering and STEM subjects. And you can see that women are not accepted much in these fields. Like there's a lot of gender gap between male and female in these fields.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed our discussion on some cultural and societal and economic aspects relating to women in STEM.
We will be back next time with our final episode of the Women in STEM series. Thank you. Bye.